I saw what I saw!
I saw what I saw, but no one believes me.
For many of us, the search to understand our roots gives us meaning. Whatever your color or race, understanding your true origins can leave you feeling more grounded and connected. But for some, this doesn't come easy. Truths are hidden and secrets are locked behind closed hearts and doors. But imagine starting out to better understand your place in the family and ending up in a conversation somewhere well beyond the stars.
When did MLK get killed? That assassination, right? Okay, so it was about 62 is when they started getting out there to Paris, California. Okay, so I'm Black and Mexican, so these experiences are all on the Black side of the family for whatever reason.
My mom kidnapped me because Black and Mexicans don't mix, don't match. They still don't. And I guess it was an embarrassing thing for her back then. I don't know. The whole family was in on it, and I didn't find out really until I was 40 years old that was a fact.
Like, how old were you when that happened?
That would happen?
Yeah, the kidnapping happened.
When I was born. My mom would always move to different locations, so my dad wouldn't find out. She tried to put a block on me from calling family. I had to only go to my grandparents on the weekends, not my dad. I had to sneak calling them.
And I mean, the shit they did, it's just, you just don't know. So much I have to share with you. There's so much I gotta tell you. The time is right. The time is right.
Didn't know what the hell he was talking about, like saying dad stuff.
To me, it was just normal stuff in the hood, right? Lost like 6 friends before I had turned 17 to murder. When I was in 6th grade, so we would go out in the hood and like do stupid shit, rob speakers, and we were, punk kids. So I spent the night at my buddy's house, and I remember waking up and there was this like rumbling and shaking in the house. It was just like this wind. And there was just lights, and I thought it was police lights, but they were going on in the backyard. In the hood, like there's police lights out front, but this is on top of the roof. Dogs are going crazy. Dad says, everybody stay inside. Comes down, he had a cane, and was like, hey, don't talk about this. And then it was all commotion just stopped. We went to sleep, woke up, and it was just like, that was weird. What the fuck was that? When I was 12, I learned Dad paid all my child support till I was 18 just so he could see me. And then we disappeared again. And then for 3 years, my mom and my family convinced me that my dad hated me. I knew better as I started getting to high school, and I just demanded from my mom. I was like, this is bullshit. I'm going to see my dad whether you like it or not. The talk of the family is about my grandfather, my papa. He always had an earpiece in, listening to the news, reading the newspaper, watching a basketball game on TV, and have a conversation with you and still be able to recall everything consistently. Born in Alabama, 1906. His grandmother was a slave. He had catering trucks. And the mob kept coming in on it and forced him to sell. So that's when he basically abandoned his family and moved to California, Paris. And it was next to March Air Force Base. Here's the other thing that's out in the hills of Paris. Nuclear silos. My grandpa always said that there was some shit in them hills. He used to shoot a shotgun at the C-141s flying over the house. And this was in the early times where March Air Force Base, no one really knew what was going on there.
Dad would have been like 10-ish, and that's when his encounters began. Fast forward, I'm in Riverside, California. I was 16. I was with my 3 buddies, and we were in his room, and we were all just sitting there talking, and I was sitting on the couch. CJ was sitting in a green chair to the right, and Caesar was sitting to the left of my vision on his waterbed. As we're talking, it's just like we're all laughing, and I was speaking. What caught my eye was it was an ass indentation in the waterbed, and then it leveled out. I looked over. This being stood up. The fucker was big. It was probably 6'5", 6'6", slender build. Looked like if you were to picture like Iceman or Aquaman, but with the silhouette of a human with a predator, like you could see the image but through it. So if you go up the stairs, there's the kitchen, and you go up to the left, there's the bathroom. This being walked up the stairs, opened the door, walked in it, and shut it. We were all looking at each other like, did you fucking see that? And then we heard this banging in the bathroom. We were like, well, we gotta go see what it is. I mean, scared as shit. There was nothing there. So late 94 to early 95. I was 17. Okay, so I'm in the Army. I was in Fort Gordon, Georgia. And I just woke up one day and I'm hearing people's feelings. It was like, what the fuck is going on now? So as we're getting ready to leave to graduate, there was this girl that I had my eye on. And she was in another barracks. And I remember grabbing her hand, and I got a rush, all these thoughts and images. I was like, I know what's going on at home. I know you don't want to go home. I know that there's probably some, sexual assault and shit going on by your uncle, and even your dad. If you do not go active Army, you're going to end up killing yourself. You know you are. And it was all there. She just lost it. She runs away. And I'm like, oh, shit. Later, she wrote me a letter, and she said that I was absolutely right. After that, I wasn't able to give it any attention because now I'm going airborne school. I'm going RIP. Now I'm thrust into 275. It's just no time to think.
But then I get in this vehicle accident. We're on post. My right orbital floor was blown out. I got a phone call, which was odd because it's a payphone, right? It starts ringing. It rings for me, and I'm like, what the, it's an old barracks. And it's my doctor, and he says, we're going to need you to come back, and you're going to need to go into emergency surgery. So I saw my S2, Lieutenant McClintock, S2's intel, pulls me to the side, and he says,
Look up this book. Psychic Warrior. Read it, and when you're done with it, come talk to me.
It had to do with the Ranger. He was deployed with 1st Battalion, I think. They were in Jordan, gets shot in the fucking head, and then has this near-death experience. All this stuff happens. When I finished it, Lieutenant Clayton had PCS.
PCS meaning, you've received your permanent change of station, PCS, orders, and after the panic subsides, you know you'll need to get yourself and your family organized for the relocation process.
Fuck, what was that about? Why did he want to talk to me about that? Now I'm out of the military. It was just like, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? I meet my wife after my grandmother passed away from a car accident. We were totally, absolutely in love. My daughter's born. My dad comes up with my Uncle Bob. So it was him, my Aunt Bonnie, and my dad, the black side. My dad, he has this energy that's very potent, can be explosive at times. It's just like, not a dick, but he's just had a lot of trials in his life. Racism, specifically. But anyway, so they're in the room and they're getting in a fight. Dad gets mad, storms out. The lights dimmed, got brighter, and then exploded. Everyone sat there, like, calm. I was just like, okay, that's some weird shit. I talked to my dad, and he's like,
Your Uncle Bobby probably told you that it was him and his powers, didn't he?
get my dad on the plane as quick as possible and then get the hell out of my house, right? So, 22, 23 years old. So I started with this company, lived in Houston, Texas for a while. I'm on the ground floor, perfect opportunity. The .com bomb hit. Just as I'm learning the job, I quit my job. I had this calling of like doing something different and got into commercial real estate. That's when the second bomb dropped, mortgage meltdown. I quit my job. Now I'm like, fuck, well, I just left everything. I've got my back. I quit my job. I was recruited to get Los Angeles for a while. I was in the entertainment industry. I did business affairs. Even though we were divorced, met a lot of great people. So this must have been in 2006. No, this would have been 2007-ish, maybe. Anyway, found myself in a very interesting group of individuals. Donald Z, black guy from Compton. He had just got out of prison, which I didn't know, for monetary fraud with the Bush administration. He would share with me about black families in the mid 60s to early 70s that were being encountered. And that's the first time that I had a song.
Why did he bring that up to you? Were you comfortable enough in the relationship to start talking about your own personal experiences, or did this just come up randomly?
Ultimately, Donald used me as a pawn to an extent because he was a con guy. When I was doing this stuff within the entertainment industry, I was working with a guy named Cheyenne, a music artist. He is gifted since he was a kid. Basically, angels talk to him kind of thing. So, Donald, he was a con guy, right? Anyway, when he and I would have those moments where we drive back and forth from Las Vegas to Los Angeles together, he started sharing these stories with me. And one of them he called the monkey people, which was like his neighbors, all the way to, the lady that kept boarded up in her house, and people thought that she was a alien. Weird shit that happens in the hood. So we're at the beach, Venice Beach. Over the horizon, we see this very bright object over the water. I was like, man, I wonder what that is. I pull my phone out to take a picture, and my phone fizzles out. Like, not like, oh shit, my battery ran out. Like, bzz. Okay. Reboot my phone and do it again. Bzz. Can't take a picture of it. I'm like, okay, that's not supposed to happen. Immediately my brain goes into the technology of it,
Like you're tracking it, like that thing's still here? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we were walking and it's still there. And then we're driving, we go to our next city, it's there. I don't think anybody knew really what it was. We just knew that there was this thing following us around. Then I get to Miami and something was really weird because this was the first time it was straight above me. And weird shit was starting to happen to me physically. Like I had 3 marks on my back. I wake up and it's there. And these marks are equally precisely separated, like a claw. And it's always the same. One of them was really bad. I had it for months on my side. Somewhere around in that time, we went to California, Placerville. I was living with my ex-wife. I was there with Naomi's fiance at the time. I'm out there in this field, the bonfire, it's at night, and the stars are just fucking everywhere, right? The fucking light's still there. And I go, do you see that thing, man? And he goes, yeah. He goes, what the hell is that thing? And I did the old Leonardo da Vinci, man, I'm human. It gets extremely bright, like the light was with my dad and my uncle's fight. And when it did that, it got big and then it went up and away. And you can see fucking stardust behind it. a year and a half ago, my uncle comes out. So I go, Uncle Kenny, I have to ask you this question because I've had an experience and I need someone that, has been there. So I share with him about the light. So he says, yeah,
well.
They were in the car together. My grandma was driving the old station wagon, and my grandfather was passenger, and the kids were on the back. They were driving, and it's, dirt roads. And there was this red light in front of them. It looked like a tail of a motorcycle light. And it kept getting faster and faster. My pop-up says, Irene, punch it. She punched it in this old-ass Volkswagen, and they started catching up to it. And then all of a sudden, when they got down into Lucan's Lane, it went up in the sky and took off.
And then he says that he was out one night. He came home late, and he was peeing outside. And there's that red light again. It was just going up and down the fence line, and takes off. So then he says,
your dad would go for a walk in the hills and not come back. He'd come back shook.
He said, my grandfather would take the whole family from Monrovia, which is by Pasadena, California, and drive and spend the weekends in Paris to build the land. That's why I asked when MLK was assassinated, because that's when they put the plot for the pump house. They wrote the years that this was going on. So while they were putting fence up, my grandfather and my Uncle Kenny would put the fence out. Well, my dad was, I'm gonna go for a walk. Well, he'd be gone for hours, like a whole day, gone. And they get mad and be like, hey, you're supposed to be out here helping us. My dad says, I fell asleep. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And was hysterical about, the little men, because they would come and talk with him. And it was a cloud that talked to him one time. He said, he told my grandfather, and my grandfather said, well, what did it want? He says, I didn't know. I got scared and left. And he says, well, next time ask it.
Okay. So on my journey this weekend, my second ayahuasca journey, which is why I wanted to wait to do this. And the first one was, my intention was, show me how to be the best version of myself. So the first lesson was, I have to have love and patience. And then this last weekend, I had a history lesson. So I was laying there on my mat. I had these visions, big ship going over these black seas. And then I started seeing tree rings everywhere, not a straight line, literally like a fingerprint everywhere, different colors and lines and everything. And then so top of the Malacca, there's a little hole, and it was the light again, what I had been seeing. And it was moving around, and just that night I was just like, okay, it will always be there. And that was the first night that I actually purged. And I was like, holy shit. I have this huge drawing to this island, and I never knew why. This island, Curacao, it's an island just north of Venezuela, about 100 miles east of Aruba. It was the stop off for slavery. The next night, first wave was intense but tolerable. And then I made the deal with Aya, and I said, I'll do whatever it takes. Show me what the hell that is. Most people, when they purge, it's like, oh, here it comes, I got a few. This was like excruciating. It is the most excruciating pain that I've ever had to endure. And I just kept forcing myself to sit up and not lay down and sit up. And I just kept saying, I understand. I'll understand when we get to the other side of this. I was just like, okay, I'm ready to see it. Then it was like, are you fucking sure? I'm ready. I hope you're sure. I got a little bit warrior-ish, so I was like, all right, motherfucker, let's go. I'm ready. And then I purged. Whole room filled with ancient art, like ancient DNA. It was everywhere. It was all red hues, red tint. Then I started seeing planets and galaxies, and I saw like a dark waterfall shelf that rolled over, and then there was this planet. From behind it came the light, and then it filled the room. Mind you, the room is dark, but everywhere I look, there's this bright light up above. My grandparents, my nana, my papa, and then my other grandpa on the Mexican side, had a conversation with him right then. That they've been watching me, that they've been looking over me. And I just felt like this heavy sadness because I was just so frustrated. And I was like, well, why did you leave? And it was like, they weren't supposed to be there following me. And then my nana was just comforting me. I was just like, no, I don't want you to go. And then that's when they said, we have to, the drums are playing. You know what's going on now. And that's when I saw it leave again. Like, fuck, that was by my family? Like, okay. Are you serious? And it came back and it says, I asked you if you were ready.
And my dad always said, boy,
late 60s and 70s was crazy for black people with UFOs.
Paris, California, mid to late 70s.
the story is my Aunt Cindy, my Auntie Betty, and my dad were in the car.
Time, weather, and
It was just a bunch of black men, like 100, just standing there, dressed very well by the road. No cars, no lights, no dusty boots or nothing, or it's hot out there. And they were driving by. They were just standing there in the field, looking at them with kind of no expression, and some of them were looking up. When they went back, he went back to get my uncle, and then they were all gone. Yeah, because Dad always told me never talk about it, because if I do, it'll weaken it. It doesn't weaken the potency as much as it just doesn't make you want to do it as much, right?
Thanks to Gibbous Moon for the featured track Peacemaker. You can visit them by clicking the album art on our episode page at tuiarts.com or go to thegibbusmoon.bandcamp.com. If you're interested in the tracks provided by Artless Artists on this episode, you can view that playlist at our website as well. If you want to get more involved and contribute, visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/tuiarts. And lastly, please share and review the show if you like it. Nothing grows in the podcasting world if those two things don't happen. So please and thank you. I do appreciate it. Stay strange, folks. Catch you on the next episode.